Weird. I'm sorry about that. I assumed it was you.
Yes, of course you did.
No, I was just saying, like, if this is your idea, then like you can write up as much um, framework as you'd like, um, because I mean, you know all my talking points. I mean, of course, I still learn stuff, and like I still surprise myself and others sometimes when I kind of just start going off. I'm a very intuitive philosopher.
I'm already
So
having fun. I mean,
sure. I
um,
wish you could see my stream, but
you had one idea about like an episode could be us pitching different arcology designs based on bioregion instead of the
oh
cliche
sure.
air conditioned strip mall.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could just start doing it by bioregion. I've seriously been thinking about these like. Do you remember that article we shared a long time ago? It was about the what was it called? Hyperuniform
Oh yeah,
discontinuity or something.
yeah, disordered hyperuniformity.
Disordered hyperuniformity. And it was based on how all of these different types of nodes within that 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 matter had like their own kind of periodicity, and in doing so you have like this weird scalability. And like I've literally just been like thinking about taking what people would think of as like the kind of bullshit TVP like that they've seen, and just like start using these computational like methods based. There was one urban informatics study that I had read, which was like trying to identify like city centers, and it was doing all these uh, distance traveled for given individuals to a city center.
I think I may
And
have
I
read
just
that.
yeah, it's funny thinking that you could I would love to do something like generative architecture,
Well,
like
one thing is that the hyperuniformity thing came from studying the eye cells of chickens,
yeah, it did.
and which is weird and cool, kind of in and of itself. And then, if we're thinking of the same paper, I think it was Canadian, about calculating distance and kind of assigning factors to a city design based upon commute distances, and at home time, and so forth. It just seems to leave out the possibility of cities that are designed without cars, auto
Yeah,
free or perimeter autos.
perimeter autos. Is it just like autos around the corners?
Well, no, I just mean like in some European countries, like the Netherlands, the Dutch are actually retrofitting and designing new cities such that the cars are only allowed on the outside, like beltways, and then the inner city is all pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure.
That's cool.
And they're actually doing that today. They actually have living examples of that today, and I haven't really been able to easily find any like comparative data um, that shows that there are X fewer accidents per mile and stuff like that with the bicycle infrastructure, but I'm pretty sure there are fewer
Actions per mile.
accidents.
Oh, accidents. Yeah. Hmm.
And but yeah, once we actually, I mean, it's one thing to run a simulation and say this will probably happen, and it's another thing to like actually retrofit a real city and then say, here's the data.
For retrofitted. No, I mean it's. What was I thinking of? There's you know, like all these fucking ruins. Like I keep on thinking about Chaco culture, with respect to the drought. And cities just move on whenever the resource that helped, make it viable dries up. Because humans love these low energy paths, right?
Yeah,
Um,
least resistance.
yeah, and I mean, and a lot of capitalism is based on least resistance, but like they decide to fuck with the game and then also engage in like least resistant modes of evil exploitation, and then it becomes this weird meta game where like you have to take there's the game at face value, and then there's the actual game, which is really just the black market. And then thinking about how like both the black market and the market still leave when cities don't become viable.
Yeah.
Nothing can live in Chaco culture. So
what's going on in Phoenix right now with house prices? People are taking out 30-year mortgages on houses that are like 3 times higher than they were 3 years ago, in a city where they have maybe 40 or 50 years of water left.
Where they have how many days?
Phoenix has maybe 40 or 50 years of water left at its current rate of usage.
Yeah.
And people are taking out 30-year mortgages on houses that are 3 times higher price than they were 3 years ago. And so I guess they're all assuming that, they'll get out before the water runs out. And I've read recently that Mead Reservoir, which supplies Northern California, is like running completely dry. So that'll affect quite a few people. But
wait.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's just like I'm thinking of Oregon Trail,
Well, it's just like the water scarcity issue in the Southwest is really, really serious. And it's probably like 10% of the reason the houses around the Southwest are so expensive. But I also think that it's just like kind of a symptom of a complete lack of top-down planning, because there isn't any.
Yeah, I mean, what would a top-down Phoenix, Arizona have looked like, even taking into account perfect information they didn't have? Like let's say we, at the time, there existed a model that was so accurate that it essentially predicted the climate that has happened. It predicted the weather patterns as they happened for the last 50 years. Like, at a certain point, we have to admit that, aside from the answer of don't do it, like don't settle there, if people are going to settle there in the quantities they did, like, what kind of technology per Dunbar of, Phoenix alternate future Phoenix.
There's plenty of water reuse and conservation and recycling technologies that just aren't used, and obviously the suburb is not exactly a space station in terms of its resource efficiency. But yeah, I don't know. It's like if you actually planned for X number of people to be living in a place and then say, well, if you want X more to live here, then we'll have to add on these nodes that are already pre-designed and pre-configured to like conserve water at a certain rate. You could probably have a lot more people living there, and you'd actually know like roughly how long it would last, and have certain margins of safety.
A certain margin of safety?
Well, yeah, it's like if you design cities like nodal space stations, and you predetermined like a cistern. It wouldn't be that simple, but like you have like a cistern of water for a Dunbar node of 150 people, for people who don't know what that Dunbar thing means. And then you'd have a certain amount of recycling efficiency. So this is one of the things that I actually factored for the Mars colony simulation. Was the actual water recycling efficiency, and then that predetermined the cargo rate of water you'd have to import to the Mars colony every 5 or 15 years.
What kind of rate?
The rate of water replenishment. So it's alwa't going to be less than 100% efficient, right? Because there will be evaporation, and some water won't be able to be perfectly recycled.
It's like the Stillsuit. You're doing the...
Yeah. but yeah, and then the water you like use up would have to be brought in, via cargo from Earth, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm still like really iffy on like how irradiated space resource water is for ISRU. Yeah, I don't think anybody even knows how irradiated, like, I don't know,
How irradiated what
be.
is? How irradiated would it be?
Or even water. If you found ice on Mars and then melted it, how irradiated would the surface ice be? Because there's no magnetic protection because the Mars's core is dead.
I have arguments with my dad about that. I'm constantly thinking that it's like much warmer than he says it is. Like, yeah, the dynamo can still be dead, but like, how hot is it? Like, and he just like I never got a good answer. It's like, yes, yeah.
In Earth's crust, it gets 25 Celsius hotter every kilometer you go down, and that's with an active core. So I guess it would be less than that.
Well, at least socially. I mean, you're probably more comfortable talking to me than...
Yeah, no, it's super weird because...
all these Germans.
Yeah, just, like, getting on a video chat for the first time, ever seen somebody, like, obviously we've hung out in person, we went and studied together, and, we've known each other for 10 years, so...
It's a long fucking time. I've been telling these depressed, like, 20-year-olds at work to just, like, go to Arcosanti.
Yeah.
Just go. Like, hey, look, I mean, I think about going back. I hate it. I hate living here sometimes.
Well, how tempting do you think it is for me? I'm a remote software developer.
Oh, yeah, you can be the you can be the new cool Randall. You can be smart Randall. You can be like Randall who didn't waste his intelligence on, like, pickling things.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he's dead now, though. He died.
Yeah, he is, I know.
Yeah, I actually helped him with his jam business there for a while. Anyway. Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't even... They've shown, like, zero interest in my research, but, like, they're always happy to take my money.
Sure. Oh, whoa, yeah. It's like an alma mater, like, if you can't, like, if they don't see money within, like, the first 15 seconds, then they're just, like, out. It's like an alumni association just collecting handouts.
Yeah, I don't necessarily fault them for the money thing, but I do sort of fault them for not taking simulation research more seriously, because it does come across as a lack of interest in their own subject.
A lack of interest, yeah. A lack of time. It's funny because it's like the same process whereby, like, let's say I want to recommend my friends a book or a movie or a show. Like, you have no idea what's going on in their lives for them to relax to the point that they will not only heed the recommendation but also allocate time to test it out. And if it's really hard for, like, even best friends to do that in our, like, crazy, fucking 24/7 media environment, then, like, I don't necessarily fault institutions for being comprised of people who have that same, like, kind of, ADHD. Like, they're just, like, their heads are just whipping to whatever is coming at them. They're all, like, 50-somethings now in that fucking strategic planning committee. They're all, like...
Is that really still a thing? There were, like, 20...
Yeah, it's still a thing. It's still a thing.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they're the ones that, like, took it upon themselves, but I'm sure that if any number of them actually sat down and, like, started doing research the same way that you have, not to say that they don't research, but, like, it's just inaccessible to their to what they've been, I don't know, so accustomed to. My friend who was a communications major, he's been doing funding for the Red Cross for a while now. He just quit, or like they wouldn't renew his contract, so he got another job working for this some child psychology, the Child Pathology Speech Foundation, essentially doing the same work. And what he was saying the other day, because it sounded so interesting to me, I started telling them about like Newtopia and stuff. Not they know that I've been to Arco, but I wanted to explain that like the people that I've met there have difficulty reining in viewers and like establishing good rhetoric in the first place. So like when the revelations about Solari's behavior as a father came out, like people like Newtopia had even less of like a philosophical ground to stand on, in addition to the social awkwardness that already made their approach to society like kind of,
yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't help when that stuff came out.
But so what he was saying is that like for most people, they will never be motivated by anything other than like this fear of being a bad person. Like the whole thing of like how certain registers will try to constantly ask you for like 15-cent donations for like child hunger. They put you in this position where you're too you feel too like morally bankrupt if you say no. So it's like you have to make people feel like if they don't start doing this kind of recycling or this kind of thing, that they're not just going to be judged as bad people, they will be bad people. And it's like, of course, that kind of logic doesn't work on certain percentages of the population who like can't be bothered to recycle no matter how you phrase the issue. So like, it's how do you take pro-social things like that, like these responsibilities? How do you refactor responsibilities for an arcological net in a way that makes people excited to do it? In the same way that like in living in a group home, how many people are ever really excited to do the dishes?
Did you
but like
live at Arco long enough? I'm sure you did, where your group, whether it was construction or archives or the kitchen, would be called upon to crush and move the recycling into the bins.
Oh yeah, we did the recycling.
And the bins were huge. Like
yeah, they were.
They were, hundreds or 1,000 gallons.
You take the bus up. It's like the car.
Yeah, when it was just Sue and I, because they call on archives to do the recycling, and
yeah,
it was a lot of crushing. Okay, it was like I couldn't believe the amount of cans and bottles and boxes and everything that the place went through. It was pretty weird. It definitely, because if you live in a suburb, it's not like you're going around and getting everyone's recycling on the block and then having to crush it yourself. It's a staggering amount.
Yeah, no, it definitely it shows you just how it's just like how much work we're kind of offloading to complete strangers that work in these factories,
But yeah, recycling,
stuff like that.
I'm sure it's better from an energy and material standpoint than not recycling. What would be even better though is if people just reuse their coffee mug and
reuse their coffee mug.
Yeah, and had like fountain sodas.
Oh yeah, stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that recycling, that's probably not going to go anywhere. It's like
it's not going to get anywhere.
Well, no, I just mean that it's kind of like framing the question.
Like responsibilities.
Yeah, it's like where does the question of material responsibility start?
Maybe framing it as a responsibility at all is the bad idea. You have to frame it as a completely optional choice that if you happen to follow through with, you have the moral high ground, like a instantly dopamine releasing way of just like, I don't know. It's like herding cats. I don't.
Yeah.
If I knew what the fuck I was talking about, we wouldn't be like it's just like struggling all the time. I don't know.
I mean,
Like,
come on, it's not like it's easy.
of course, yeah, it's a complicated, expensive answer, and like it reminds me of like how I would frame certain things like as a kid. I'd be like, you know what? The reason I suck at this is because I've chosen to do it the best way, and like if I never finish it, it's because my standards are so high.
Yeah, well, you
And
were
like
watching
the thing is,
Enemy. I was studying the blade.